I took a trip to India and just just ran into some bad people numerous times. You know, they're particularly mistreated my travel partner. I just had a bad luck experience with India, and I kind of like a do over. You know, like it was just, got scammed by a few people. Had a couple people be kind of threatening. Just ran into some bad crowd of people there, and I want to do. I was in
Shit.
Mumbai, which National Geographic magazine said was the worst city on earth. So, I'm going to say that okay, I just drew a bad card for India, but I'm sure there are some villages or somewhere up in the north that is absolutely stunning. So I'd like a do over with that. One of my favorite places I've been though has been Vietnam. Not only I mean the food is amazing, but the people there are just really really cool. And I guess I kind of those were actually in the same trip. I was going around the world east to west, and I think having just come from Vietnam, went through Malaysia, went to India. India and Vietnam had kind of the same ingredients. They're poor, they're hot, they're kind of crowded, but the Vietnamese are just gentle people. They're kind to each other. They were kind to us. They work hard. They're just ingenious people. Just watching how everybody has just stitched their life together. There's this wonderful just feeling of collaboration everywhere. Traffic is just bananas. You're in a space the size of a living room with two dump trucks, 300 scooters with five people apiece, and a motorcycle. And right in the middle of it, somebody goes to turn a bus around, but they don't get angry. They just stop, get their phones out, and text somebody for a minute and go around, and they just work it out. Traffic laws. One of the best days I had my whole life was I rented a scooter and just took off and just blended in and just got into the flow of traffic. And they're ignoring the traffic laws. They're riding through restaurants and sidewalks, and it's just chaos, but it all works because everybody's going with it. And it's just this really great, mellow, kind of organic feeling. And I was there for 10 days and just had wonderful experiences all over the country. And it's been one of my favorites. People were just great there. Another favorite is the country of Scotland. I mean, people there are hilarious. It's a beautiful country. Everybody's nice. Scotland is one of those places where if you got drunk and lost, somebody would just take you home and give you a bed to sleep in and feed you and get you where you needed to be. Like, they're just giving, nice people. Alaska, I know it's not its own country, but it may as well be. Same thing. I mean, everybody I've met in Alaska, my buddy Shaggy Moore particularly, I mean, everybody, just Tim, all these guys were just didn't know us from anything, but they were like, hey, you're coming here to race cars. Come on, you can stay with us. We're going to take you to dinner, loan you a shirt, give you a car to drive. Let me show you some good times, take you out to the glacier. Like, everybody we met in Alaska was just cool and open and inviting and just wanted to share what they had. And there's just some places like that I just can't wait to go back to because everybody there we encounter has just been so cool. So, those three are probably my favorites, but again, you can't let a bad experience in one place rule out the whole country because there's good people and bad people everywhere, and you can't judge a country by one experience. But
1.5 billion people in India. Not all of them are trying to scam your buddy, but they have those documents like for Europe and everywhere you travel where it's like, hey, you're going to Italy. Here's a scam they try in Italy all the time on Americans. Oh, you're going to Honduras. You're going to India. Like, these are the ones to look out for in that region. What kind of scam did they try and run on your friend? Was it like a bait and switch thing or a, promise of service and then strong arm?
No, it was actually both of us. We were in an Uber going from like the hotel down to kind of like the old part of the city. And, we get in an Uber and the guy speaks a little bit of English and we're driving along and I'm kind of watching on the phone and he's going the right direction, but it's some really, really rough neighborhoods, just pretty sketchy, pretty scary. And, there is due to a lot of the pollution, a lot of poor health care, some people don't have access to good health care. There's a lot of birth defects there, and you get people with some really traumatic mutations. And there are people who kind of get groups of these people together, and they'll kind of like mob a car to kind of like, I guess, sort of scare people into giving them money or whatever. And the cab driver was obviously in on.
I'm sorry. This is fabulous. You're telling me that there are criminals down. I missed the country.
India.
There are Indian criminals who organize a group of mutants to attack vehicles. Yeah. Mutants to attack cars and frighten people into giving them money? Or maybe the driver's like, either you give me 10,000 rupees or I put you out in Muty Town.
Well, that was that was kind of how it went down. And I use the word attack. They were not attacking. They were just sort of So we're driving along. Exactly. So we're driving along, and the guy kind of comes to a stop in the car, and like these people kind of come out of the curb, and they're just sort of like kind of reaching in the window a little bit, and they got and some of these people are pretty striking and pretty tragically afflicted with these mutations, and anyway, they're kind of shaking the car a little bit and kind of reaching in and just sort of, kind of reaching for my partner's hair. And, and it's, I didn't really feel like dangerous, but it was kind of alarming. Like, this is not what I planned. And the guy like literally like holds the phone up, like over the seat of the car and like just turns the app off. And he says something like, basically like 7,000 rupees if we stay here. And 7,000 rupees is about $8, I think. I can't remember the exact exchange rate. But I was like, look, man, I'll give you 20,000 rupees. Get us the hell out of here right now. Because, I'm with her. I'm responsible for her.
Yeah.
And he drove on, and it wasn't like a big deal. We're never like in danger, but it was just, that was the hustle. It was just kind of like alarm some tourists and get some money. And I guess he goes back and gives a cut to them or something. And it just felt a little predatory. We had an incident with at the hotel desk where her room card quit working, and she went down to the desk to get another one, and somebody like yelled at her for being a lady and addressing a man, and we just had some bad experiences on that trip. A couple of people in the market kind of a little aggressive, not the real classic hustle, but man,
the mutants
like a
car attack
place.
is not a bad experience. That's
between the cobras and the mutants.
And Christopher, you are emotionally wealthier for having been mutant attacked. I kind of want to live through that. I want to have this story.
Well, I mean, again, it wasn't an attack. Sure. I don't want to oversell it, but it was people trying to kind of, I guess, intimidate somebody into giving some money. And again, when I'm traveling, I mean, you're always going to get shaken down somewhere for the exchange rate, or the cab driver's going to rip you off or something. It's just, I'm not a wealthy person, but if I can afford to take some of these trips or have an opportunity to go on some of these trips, I am very fortunate. None of these people that are, the shirts you were going to buy for somebody back home started out at, 5,000 dong. Now it's 20,000 dong when you're checking out, whatever. Like, if you get hustled for a few dollars, just consider it a tourist tax. It's not worth getting in a big fight over it. It's not worth making a big deal over it. This guy is obviously not getting rich scamming tourists for another $8 on a cab ride. Like, he's trying to feed his family. This is just how they get by. So, like, don't take it personally. Don't let it ruin your day. Yeah, did that cab ride cost me $12 more than I planned on it? Sure. But fighting this guy and 10 of his friends over it is not going to get me anywhere. I wanted to just go out, have a good day. If it cost me a few extra bucks, fine. Like, do the thing.
Hypothetically, though, how many of these mutants could you have taken?
That was my question.
I mean, there were a good 20, 30 people. I mean, it was a lot of folks. And again,
countless arms.
Your Honor, permission to treat the witness as hostile
with like webbed fingers and stuff. Taylor just batter them.
Yeah,
right? Mutants have like impaired vision. Come on. How many can you have?
I don't know. I mean, if they got you on the ground, it could be all over. But I have a friend who grew up in another country that said that was a common thing there too. Sometimes to the point of people even like mutilating other people for that purpose. So it's pretty tragic. I mean, people get desperate in some of these places.
They mutilate other people to get money from them, or to have them join their clan.
No, he told me that happened a lot of times. Like, they would get children, things like that, and do things to them to make them more shocking, and then would kind of work them to get either donations or whatnot. And I mean, it's pretty tragic the way people get by. But
it's
those moments.
Not
it's those moments though. Like, I was on a boat one time from Morocco back to Spain, and we came across a life raft adrift. These guys were getting swept out of the Mediterranean out into the Atlantic. It was about 8 or 9 guys in a stolen life raft. They all had one article of clothing apiece. They were paddling that thing with boards and sticks and whatever they had. It was pretty much below water level, them in it. And, we did not pick them up on our boat, but they called the Spanish Coast Guard that went out and picked these guys up. And, it's those moments like that, though. And probably the best thing I've gleaned from all of my travels around the world is that, it makes me thankful for what I've got, and again, I drive a $200 car on a daily basis. Like, I'm not a wealthy person, but, most Americans take more fresh water than most people in the world will ever see in their life, and we poop in it and flush it.
So you apparently had a bit of a run-in a while back with the KKK.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to know about that. How did that happen? I didn't know they were still mucking about. I thought they were kind of anachronistic.
Oh, no. They're so unfortunately still around. Now, granted, that story happened 33 years ago. So, this was several decades back. But,
okay.
I was in high school. And, I had this old hoopty. It was a 63 Buick LeSabre. I'd lowered it a couple inches, white wall tires, had some subwoofers in the back, as a 16-year-old does. And I'm driving home one day, and I lived in this tiny little town.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Klan still was around back then. And again, this has happened in 1990. So, the Klan was still around, and I had nothing to do with that. I mean, I was very fortunate to grow up in a house where racism did not exist, and that's certainly nothing in my heart at all. But I'm driving home, and I get to one of our many four-way stop signs we had out in the country, and sure enough, there they were, taking up money. Now, I guess legally or whatever, not to scare people too much, they didn't have like the full hoods on. They had like the little things flipped up.
Yeah, they flipped it up.
Okay.
But they were taking up money like
casual KKK.
Casual Friday KKK. And it was like, like when the Shriners will like take up money like for burn kids and stuff like that. Guys with the Fed. It's like that. They're just walking the line. So I see these guys, and I'm just like, oh, I can't stand these people. So, we're kind of, everybody's taking their turn up towards the four-way stop. And, one of these guys sees me, and he's got his little bucket, and he sees me. I'm just a white kid in an old car, and he kind of holds the bucket up, bucket, and I was like, I kind of just shook my head no. And he was like, bucket, boy. And I was like, oh, and he's like, bucket, boy. And he's kind of approaching my car, and I took my hand. I was like, fuck you. And I flipped him off, and he kicked my car. And, and I was real proud of this car. It wasn't a nice car. I paid $300 for it, but it was mine. And you don't kick my car. I'm first in line now at the four-way stop anyway. So he kicks my car, and I just mashed the gas. The car had a 345 V8 in it, about, I don't know, a couple hundred horsepower, enough. Lights up the tires, rear end kind of steps out. And the Buicks had the wing mirrors on the Buick kind of set a little forward of the windshield, kind of out on the sides. And he had those big old white KKK pajamas on. It snagged his sleeve as I went past and just cartwheeled his ass down the side of the car. Of course, I kind of fishtailed through the intersection. I look back in the mirror. He's all laying in the ground, and his friends are getting him. I didn't hit him. His friends are helping him up, knocked his little pointy hat off and stuff. And, as a 16-year-old, you don't really understand the permanence of the things that you do. So, I think, oh, these guys are what a bunch of assholes. I go home. I don't think about it. Not thinking that I'm in a town of 1,200 people with a lowered 1963 Buick LeSabre and primer. It's not like they're not going to see me again. And sure enough, that happens on like, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, something like that. Friday that weekend, I dropped the car off at this little radiator shop. They're going to boil out the radiator because that's what you had to do with old cars back then. And, car sits there all weekend. I go pick it up on Monday after school. I get in the car. I kind of take a right out of the parking lot. I get up to speed. Something's not right. I mean, that car drove like a cloud. So steering wheel's kind of wobbly. Something's not going right. As I go to put the brakes on, the wheel just spins in my hand, goes full lock right. I go off the road, hit a telephone pole so centered I couldn't have done it if I tried. Yeah. Totals the car, knocks a bunch of my teeth out, breaks some, jammed my ankles, broke a couple of bones, knocked my teeth out, totaled my car.
They got you.
Well, they got me good. So, and I, of course, at the moment, I don't understand what's going on. I'm confused. I'm a 16-year-old kid. My car just had a life of its own. Well, there was a fellow at my church, drove a tow truck. He just happens to come along the scene because, of course, again, it's a town of 1,200 people. We all see each other every day. As he's pulling my car off the telephone pole, I'm, of course, over there sitting in a police car, blood everywhere. They're yelling at me for reckless driving. And I was like, man, I wasn't reckless driving at the moment. I mean, last week I was, but not this time. And Carl motions me over. He's like, come over here. And I walk over, and somebody had hacksawed through my tie rod all but about the last maybe quarter inch. And they had just hacksawed through the tie rod on that car. And, and again, I'm 16. It's not like, I didn't let somebody cheat off me on a science test. They're going to kill me. It was obviously the Klan did that.
Yeah.
So, the guys in the pointy hat totaled my Buick. And 30 years later, I'm still trying to find another one.
Oh, those bastards.
Yeah.
I've never heard a good thing about them.
I mean, and as I kind of said in the Van Wiki story, my shoulders are not burdened with racism in any way, but this guy's narrow shoulders were. And I don't understand what motivates people to participate in that kind of thing. I mean, most of the people that I knew of were in the Klan. We're the last people that should be feeling superior to anybody. You're, smoking meth, sleeping with your sister, drinking PBR behind your trailer in a above ground pool full of frogs.
Well, you just put your finger on it, right? You totally just put your finger on why they exist. It was a group of poor whites that I'm talking about when it proliferated, when it got crazy and there were lynchings and stuff. It's a bunch of poor whites who were like, wait a minute. We were always at least a rung above somebody around here. And all of a sudden you're telling us that now we're at the bottom. It's like that episode where Cartman became the poorest kid. And because he was only one rung above Kenny, and now he's the poorest, and it's just destroying him. That's what it's all about. It's when black people got civil rights, started treating better, got a little money. Oh no, they can't stand that. We got to organize. We got to get things back to the good old days. We got to make the South great again. That's the whole thing.
Yep. And, and I just never want anything to do with that, but they existed. And in modern times, hopefully that sort of thing is dwindling away. I hadn't heard much out of them in a long time. So hopefully that sort of thing and those attitudes are going away. But back in the day, man, it was, living in the South back in the 80s and 90s, it was still wild times back then.
Would they ever wear stuff around like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to have time to grab stuff for dinner after my meeting. I'm going to have to go to the store in my robes casually. Like, did you ever see him out and about, not in meetings?
There we go.
We got you back.
No audio.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Yeah, you may have to refresh or
may have to refresh it. I would imagine that there had to be circumstances like that in like the 20s, 30s, like especially back when it was like just a social club where you'd see someone in KKK garb, but like with their just regular face out, picking up a rotisserie chicken and rice.
A buddy of mine got fired from his job for doing a cannonball racing.
Oh yeah.
He and another guy had set like a C to C to C record, like a New York to LA back to New York. And I can't remember, it was like Road and Track or GQ or somebody did an article on it. And same thing, his bosses came in, they were like, hey, this is not the kind of, personality we wanted this company, and they fired him over it. But,
it'd be one thing if it was like automotive related or his driver's license there, like if he's a CDL guy or something, but like, if he's just Dave in the boardroom, like, well, that's kind of fucky. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty crappy, and I don't know how they worked it out, but I'm self-employed, so I get hired and fired on a daily basis. But it's
fair enough.
That was one of those few things that it came up. And again, Cannonball has been going on since 1971. There's never been an accident. Nobody's ever been hurt, but it's just it basically is the world's largest illegal road race, and a lot of companies, they don't, you are in effect admitting to allegedly admitted breaking the law, and companies don't like that. He's the only one I know that's gotten canned, but I know it's made it hard for some people. But
no one's ever gotten hurt. So it's like the world's safest illegal race.
It is the world's safest motorsport. But and it's something everybody's very focused. We have a saying, like, don't break the law when you're breaking the law. Everybody's sober, nobody's doing drugs. You're driving fast, but you are, the driver is 100% focused. You've got a spotter who is, watching on ramps, calling traffic, looking for cars, monitoring, waves. You got a sleeper in the back. Everybody's rotating. Everybody's fresh. The radio's not on. We're not telling stories. We are 100% focused. And, we slow it down. You get near traffic, you back it off. We speed up in open spots. But, yeah.
I'm next after you.
How much slower is the motorcycle record? Like, I would think that it's
slower.
Exhausting. Oh, I bet it's slower.
The
fuel tank is tiny and
fuel. Okay.
Yeah, a guy just set another record. He actually beat me to it.
Saddlebags full of fuel.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to hit up Harley Davidson because somebody had done it on a sport bike, a Yamaha or something like that. I was going to hit up Harley Davidson mainly to see if they give me another motorcycle. And I was going to go set it. But now the Cannonball record itself is Red Ball Garage to the Portofino Inn. But this guy did like a Jacksonville to San Diego kind of cross country record. He did it it was like 29 hours, 32 hours, something like that. I mean, it's kind of a toss up. I mean, I ride motorcycles. I go fast on motorcycles. You can weave in and out of traffic on a bike, but when you're going a really, really long distance, what is going to really keep you fresh, keep you going is being comfortable not, the wind noise, the head buffeting, the general attention level required on a motorcycle, not to mention, you're not able to sip a drink, eat your beef jerky. I mean, you were in it. So you're going to tire out sooner on a motorcycle, even though it is faster. I know like the car record right now from like Prudhoe Bay to Key West, I think is 82 hours. The motorcycle record is like 78 hours, I believe. So you are able to shave some time off, but psychologically speaking, you're going to get worn down on a bike just from the noise. Same thing, even with the cars. I have people contact me all the time. Oh yeah, me and my brother are building a whatever. We're building a triple turbo Supra that's got 3,000 horsepower. We got a 69 Camaro with a 671 blower and a roll cage. We're going to go break the CannonBall record. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to get tired. You're going to overheat it. You're going to wear out. Like the guys, Doug and Arnie, my friends that do have the CannonBall record. It's a big German 4-door. It's quiet. It's smooth. Like you got to keep your brain fresh, not just your body. And all those noises, all that steering input, all that, everything you got to do, every little micro decision you make is wearing your energy down. And when you got to be awake and alert for that long, sure.
So 3-man, 4-man team doing this thing in your big car. How much driving skill does somebody really need to do this thing? Like, let's say that I really wanted to do it and I convinced Ed to like sneak me into one of these groups. I wouldn't because I'm a felon. But what could I do it? Like, would you be worried about me? He was like, that Kyle guy, he's never driven anything on the track. Is he going to be able to drive through Texas? Like, is it a concern or?
Yes, it is actually. And I don't mean to sound like an elitist. And I most of my driving has been endurance driving, like distances around the world, other countries, that kind of stuff. I haven't done that much time driving myself. I mean, half dozen or so of these, but it kind of does. And again, I'm not trying to sound like an elitist, but like you need a really, really honed ability to read traffic, to anticipate what people are going to do, to be constantly aware of that car, whether you can feel a tire that's going low on pressure, whether you've got a shimmy that might be a loose bushing or a tie rod somewhere. If something were to go wrong, you need to be able to like immediately make a purposeful decision and carry it out to be able to recover that car. Again, does it take a lot of skill to drive fast in the left lane with nobody in front of you? No. Anybody can get out there and mat it and drive 120 as long as the road's clear. But you have to be able to like drive the 15 cars in front of you at all time, see what stimulus is coming at them. Are they going to change lanes soon? Did they just get on? Or where's that driver's head looking? How long have they been in that lane? What is my time to distance? How close am I going to close that gap? Like there's a lot going on. And for people who have done racing, there's just a lot of awareness about the car and the physics and time to distance and closing those gaps. That not that you couldn't do it. I mean, lots of people have come on that have not had that much experience and done great. But like, as
better
a group,
if you had that experience anyway.
It's better to have that experience. And again, I mean, I am not the one to be speaking for Cannonball. I've gotten to do it. I'm very fortunate to participate in it. There's a lot of people, Ed, especially Ed, Doug, Arnie, a lot of these guys are way more experienced and qualified to be talking about this than me. But, all the other races, the Southern Classic, the Alabama Hammer, some of these other regional races that go on, you kind of got to be vetted into it because we are all very conscious of that safety record. Because if somebody goes out and they're smoking weed or they're getting drunk or they're too emotional in it or like they just, that guy cut me off, I'm going to pass him and make a point or I got to beat this record.
Not the time for that.
Exactly. Like if you're going to drive,
I'm going to pull over and whoop his ass, guys. Hang on a minute.
That's not your thing. Exactly. Like you got to detach all emotion from it and not make those decisions. I was doing a run one time and I blew past a guy and, and again, it was a safe pass. It wasn't anything crazy, but I guess he took offense to that. Guy speeds up and suddenly he's next to me. We're going 120 miles an hour through Alabama. I look, he's got his wife and his kids in the car. And he's looking at me like, oh, you're not going to pass me. And I just backed off and I probably lost, 8 minutes off my time that day. But like none of this is worth getting hurt. As soon as anybody gets hurt, the party is over. The cops are looking for us. It's going to get demonized. Like we all take the safety thing.
What if you had that little cooler that said organ transport? You could flash him out the window, right? Like,
all right, that cooler has worked for several friends of mine, and that is a very, very valid technique. But now this guy was just some regular family guy that just had he just I guess didn't want his ego bruised by somebody passing him in a Cadillac. He's going 90. I go past him at 120. I look over. He's next to me at 120. He's got his family in the car. So I just backed off and let him have it because, like, there's no, like you can't get involved with the civilians. It's just not worth it. So we all take the safety very seriously. Nobody takes any risk, and we can't let people out there that are gonna drive like that or get in some mess or get in some tangle, because one big crash and this is all over. So we do.
I guess what I was
everybody can't do
it. Is there? I guess I was thinking, like, I wonder if there's just a journalist who's like, yeah, I can go, and like an automotive journalist or something who just jumps in the car and it's his first time doing any sort of like racing. I guess is a cannonball run. I don't know. That almost sounds fun. That's what we should do, guys. Let's do a cannonball run, the three of us, with no practice or really study.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Well, Cannonball Run is open.
Zach will come. It'll be great.
Cannonball Run is open to anybody.
Yeah.
But, Ed has a saying that, you don't have to have a good time to have a great time. Meaning that, like, nobody really cares what your actual time is. There are records out there that, no offense, you're not going to beat those records. Like, you're just not. I'm not going to beat them. You're not going to beat them. So go out there, have a good time with your friends. Drive as fast as is necessary, and people are watching you. They're watching you on Glimpse. We have apps we can track each other. And if you show up new and you're out there blowing through towns and going super fast, like, you're not going to get invited back. Like, the fun part is just the friendships and all of us doing it together. Whether you were in last place or first place, nobody cares. But it's doing it safely but yeah, go do one, man. If you want to do it.
How many people have been like blackballed from the race for being really like borderline dangerous, like flying through, I guess, residential areas at 100?
There have been a few, and not that people don't love these people individually as friends, but like they don't get asked back, and it's just a safety thing, and it's not personal, but it's just, we all want this to continue. In order for it to continue, we got to keep that safety record. And
that's what I was going to say. I'm a track record.
Absolutely. And again, I'm kind of speaking for some of the founding fathers of Cannonball. And I've done it. I'm excited to be a part of it. These are my friends and my people, but I'm not the one qualified to really be speaking about this, but yeah, we want to keep that safety record. We want the party to continue, and we don't want anybody messing that up. And unfortunately, if it's a more personal thing for you, or if you're that obsessed for winning, take it to a track. This is more about endurance and just pushing yourself, not pushing the car. And you really don't have to go that fast.
It's hard to reconcile that with the fact that it's a race. And the guy who won that race really was trying to win. Like, you can't win without trying. It's not like you're all out there jogging and one guy just happened to be first.
Well, true. People do try to win, but it's like you try to win, but you always err on the side of caution. Like, you're not going to cut off that bus full of orphans. You're not going to blow blind through a red light. You're not going to, pass somebody in the bonus lane and startle them and run them off the road.
Where's the bonus lane? The shoulder?
The shoulder. It can
be
pass
on the shoulder. That was I've been having that question.
We don't do that. No, we do not do that. Some people have done that, and they did not get asked back to some events because of that. Like, that was over the line. So yes, keep it in a regular lane. And again, I'm not the one that should be. I have not achieved a place in cannonballing where I should be throwing out any rules. I'm just repeating the rules as they are kind of dictated to me.
Sure.
You know how Guinness is, like, occasionally there'll be a record. It's like, most times a chicken pecked your hand while you did the twist. It's like, man, y'all just made up that record for that one guy who does a silly thing. Are there cannonball run records? Obviously there's different divisions, like for the different motor vehicles, but like, I wonder how many there are. Like, is there one for a Volkswagen Beetle? Is there one for Volkswagen Beetle older than 78? Is there one for Deuce and a Half? Deuce and a Half would be so fun.
That Deuce and a Half. You either have or have not been in a Deuce and a Half debate. Yeah, there are different versions of it, but this was we had a kind of a reunion last year, and this was a topic up for discussion. There was a diesel record, there was an EV record, there was an all-female record, there was a motorcycle record, there was the, bus record. And yes, there is a minutia for all these different records, but the only ones that are really recognized are just time, just however
what's
you got there.
What's the RV record? Because that's the one to fucking take down.
RV record, I think John Ficarra's got that one, but my buddy Fred Timmons is looking at attacking that one. I don't know on the RV record, to be honest with you.
All right, I would do that one. That seems like fun.
It's got to be. It's going to be in the 40, 50 hours.
I wonder how he gets the fuel for it. Like it seemed like an important part of the RV record is having 1,500 gallons of fuel or something crazy.
Yeah,
like
absolutely. Because fuel stops will bring your average down. I mean, me and a buddy of mine did the Southern Classic, which is from Smoking to Bandit. We start in Atlanta, go to Texarkana, back to Atlanta. And I mean, we had a really, really good time, but we also had like an 11-gallon fuel stop. So we ended up just losing so much time. And when you think about the averages, like just slowing down, getting off, getting gas, getting back in, back on the road again, those little times knock your time down by 30%.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference. I mean, yeah, there's the only records that really recognize. There's a solo record and there's the overall record. And, the rest of them, whether you were on a rocket car or a pogo stick, however you get there, that's your record.
Have you heard of the Iron Butt, Christopher?
Oh, yeah. I've got a couple Iron Butts under my belt.
Oh, I have one. And I found the fuel stops.
Well, hang on. Just be specific because it's like, hey, I got a couple Stanley Cups. How many Iron Butts do you have?
Yeah. Well, no, I just mean like qualification certificates. I don't mean like winning events. I just mean like if you've driven like more than 1,000 miles in 24 hours, things like that.
So, on a motorcycle.
Is that what an Iron Butt is?
Yeah. It's 1,000 miles in 24 hours. That's and great. It sounds easy, but it's pretty
far.
exhausting.
I mean, I've done it. And there's other versions of that too. There's, all 48 states. There's 4 corners. There's a lot of different runs that they do.
I was the first guy ever to do it on my bike. Prior to me, no one had ever done it on a KTM 890 Adventure R.
Beef jerky?
At a gas station. Why do gas stations have like 37 different kinds of Reese's peanut butter cups at this point? It's out. They're just put different shapes, different sizes, different configurations.
Yeah,
they put cookies in there, crackers.
Be reconfigurable, so they can just do it. There's no. It's like you want to do brownies in there? Why the fuck not?
You know that Coca-Cola Freestyle machine? Someone made one for Reese's peanut butter cups, and they're just mixing and matching bullshit all the time.
It's like Mexican food. There's not that much to it. Like
if you go to a convenience store somewhere in Scandinavia, like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, something like that. 90% of the candy is black licorice in some form. It's salted, it's sweetened, it's lemon, it's black licorice in almost everything. But bring up the Pringles in his tribe. Oh yeah, but bringing up the Pringles in his tribe thing raises a good point. I've been all over the world and I have eaten some weird shit. I mean, I've had whale, I've had dog, I've had scorpions and horse and squid ink and half-hatched sparrows and bugs and all kind of crazy stuff. But to 99% of the world, we are the ones that eat weird stuff because whether it's an egg or a bug or a weird part of an animal, they still know where that came from. But what is really weird to most people in the world is a Hot Pocket or a Pringles. They're like, what in the hell is this made out of? Or what is in this pastry pocket, Hot Pocket thing? We eat so much stuff that is not identifiable as to where it came from. Everybody else in the world thinks that is really weird. Eating a horse or a whale, they know exactly where that thing came from. But you try to give them a Pop-Tart and they're like, what is this? What is it? What is this?
Yeah.
That we eat the weird stuff compared to most of the people in the world.
For sure.
That makes sense.
I had
people be like, oh, where's
Mexico?
that horse come from? Oh, the horse comes from that field where we killed the horse. It's like, oh, where does that ingredient from a Hot Pocket come from? It's like, well, it starts by emulsifying petroleum runoff waste and spinning it in a centrifuge, adding, the acid until it becomes kind of edible. And it's like, yeah, but it tastes good.
Kyle and Taylor, have you guys had bugs, prepared bugs, grasshoppers or larvae or whatever? No,
I think not at all. Bugs.
It was 0% surprising. No, they're not. Christopher, you're lying to my audience. They
are good. Crickets and mealworms kind of taste like sesame sticks. Like bugs are kind of nutty tasting, except ants are like bugs that bite are a little tart a bit. But what'll really blow your mind is a spider, like a tarantula or a scorpion. Vaguely taste kind of like crab, they're kind of arachnid style. So you have to burn the hairs off of them, but they've got a vaguely kind of sweet kind of crab taste to them. They're actually not that weird.
Do you burn the hairs off, wrap it in like palm leaves or something, and steam it over a fire?
The ones I had been like burned off and dried, and they had them on sticks, and they were roasting them over like coals.
Yeah.
So they would kind of burn the hair off with the fire, kind of burn them off, and then they become like naked, and then they would just roast it. And
we know crab legs are expensive, Taylor.
Very much.
How much tarantula legs cost?
I guarantee they don't stack up to a nice
market value?
crab leg.
What's
I
market
would
price
pay
on?
to never have to try one. That's my market.
Really?
value.
You wouldn't want to try a tarantula leg if it was on the menu?
they're kind of.
I don't like
crunchy.
spiders.
I mean,
I don't want to be around them. I don't want to look at them. I don't want to eat them. I don't want to feel it's because not every bit of the hair is going to burn off. You're going to feel a little like prick here and there of hair on the. It sounds awful.
I don't know. When I ordered the grasshoppers, they seemed to be unprepared. They tasted exactly like I expected grasshoppers to taste. I thought they would be masked by like cinnamon or something, but that's not how they made grasshoppers at all. They just put them on a plate. Before I ordered the grasshoppers, and you guys know this because I was on WhatsApp texting you at the time from Mexico, I ordered ant larvae, and they were out of ant larvae, I guess. So Chiz is like, did they check under the trash cans out back? Which was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I got the grasshoppers, and they were just tasted like regular. They were like cooked, but they didn't seem to be seasoned or anything. They were just grasshoppers. I couldn't finish my plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine the whole point of like, or it seems like you like countered or found out the counter to that, but how on earth could you just eat bugs regularly without dousing it in cayenne or something to make you forget you're eating bugs?
Right.
Like it's
but to most people in the world though, eating bugs is just normal. You know, like it's not any weirder than us eating a Kit Kat or a Reese's cup. You know, it's just something normal.
It's a little weirder.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, no weirder than like, you know, cutting random bits off of a pig or a chicken or something.
We pick the parts we want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because, you know, if you showed up to a bug eating country and you were like, everyone, you want bugs today or pork chops? They're going to be like, oh, pork chops are available? Oh, then no, thank you, bugs. Like, whereas here, if they were like, hey, you got those pork chops, I got a big bowl of maggots. It's be like, no, you're not going to swindle me. You're not going to swindle me.
You know, you buy bug protein powder. It's made of bugs.
I didn't know.
It's super high in protein. I mean, they are, from a nutritional standpoint, bugs are pretty good.
It's hard to beat whey, but
I saw a YouTube video where this guy was interviewing not an uncontracted tribe, but like, I don't know how to describe a tribe that has no association with like the rest of the world, an isolated Brazilian tribe. Yeah. And he was asking questions like, what's the meaning of life? What is true happiness? And the answers to both were like, meat. Meat is the meaning of life. What's true happiness? Bringing back a monkey. Like that. Those are their answers.
Fuck.
I mean, that would be kind of nice. Like if your hierarchy of needs is so empty that you're stuck at like the getting enough food and water. You don't even have the energy or time to be like, what am I here for?
They did have
what does it mean? Yeah, they're just shredded, looking for bugs in the woods. Eating monkeys.
Eats monkey.
He wouldn't be able to contribute to the Reese's peanut butter conversation at all.
No. Although that's a fun set of videos too. The guy goes to not uncontacted tribes, but African villages that seem to be very impoverished and gives them like
the norm.
Twizzlers or Jolly Ranchers and stuff like that, like American candies. And they're always just, usually they love it. I like Gushers, you know, Gushers are the gummy candy with the juice inside. The lady was like, it is a fruit juice inside. It is wonderful. And it's he's like, would you like another? And she's like, yes, may I? And she's like, you can fuck this chick for gummies right now, dude. You might. She seems into it. Like, how big of a bag you got? It's
dude, if I were that person, I would show up with so many. So I wouldn't want to like give them a taste of Gushers. Like I would want to have so much that I was like making their week, where it's like boom, pallet of Gushers, huge thing of beef jerky, a bunch of PlayStation 1s, the portable kind, all charged up, so they can get a little bit of gaming in.
I saw this Reddit thread where they asked guys, "What is the silliest thing you've ever been called gay for?" And one of them is like, "I've been called gay for using an umbrella." Another guy was called gay for wearing glasses. And I'm guilty of this. I think eating Gushers is a little gay. They kind of explode in your mouth.
Yeah, but flavorfully, not with like semen.
Like it's a little gay. Come on.
No, it is not gay to eat gushers. All right, well then I guess we're all gay then, Woody. How do you like?
I've always thought
I guess Kyle and I are gay.
The gay candy is those cherry cordials, and so it's if you don't know, it's a chocolate covered cherry, and on the base, obviously because the chocolate settles there, it's this flat, thicker piece of chocolate, and it's filled with cum. I can only imagine some sort of sweet semen that they fill it with. It's white and creamy and viscous,
so
and
it's cherry,
it's just inexplicably
sugary, gooey slime, and then chocolate.
Yeah, it's like the Pillsbury Doughboy busted a nut in there. There it is.
They are fantastic, and I never thought of them as gay. Although I'll agree with you.
I don't think those are that great.
I feel mildly violated, but it's worth it every time.
I think you're giving.
It even looks like a penis. It looks like an uncut penis, like right.
I see it.
The top of them.
All right.
Right.
So speaking of inappropriate food deliveries, Cal, growing up in North Georgia, there you have probably been to the Elbert County Fair.
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember the thing with it was like you would get like a hot dog and it was like udders with like kind of a big penis shaped thing, and you had to like stroke it to like get the mustard and the mayonnaise and the ketchup out.
I went as a child, so I may have been shielded from those things.
It was pretty disturbing. It's like you go to the hot dog stand, they've got this like hanging sack of ketchup with like a nipple, and you just have to like kind of stroke the nipple to like squish out. It was so disturbing. Like it was like milking a cow with the cow full of mustard and ketchup. I was like, who thought of this?
Ferris wheel.
Oh my God. It was weird, man. But I tell you what, the craziest things about eating weird stuff. So I grew up on the other side of Georgia, over on the west side of Georgia. And at our county fair, you could get a stick of deep fried butter. They would freeze a stick of butter with like a corn dog stick, like freeze it, and then flash fry it like, corn dog batter, put a bunch of salt and pepper and paprika on it. And there'd be whole families just walking. There it is. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing you came up with that picture so quickly. So so you were like milking that thing to get the condiments onto your hot dog.
I bet it's so filthy.
There'd be like, oh yeah, just everybody's hand, every single hand all day. Just
Kyle, hurry up, and he's like, the ketchup won't finish.
Imagine the one guy doing it right, the mayonnaise right into his mouth, making eye contact. I'm almost finished.
Oh my God!
Almost.
But yeah.
Did you ever have a deep fried butter stick?
I did. It was a lot of butter, but just entire families just walking hand in hand, just eating a stick of butter. And I was like, this is maybe the most American thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I tried a stick of butter. Like my heart started hurting halfway through it. I had to bail out. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I don't know how many calories that is, but I'm guessing it's over 1,000. That sounds awful, but
it was a lot. It was a lot.
Deep fried candy bars are so goddamn good. Like, it sort of melts whatever it is. Like you wouldn't think an Oreo could melt, but when you deep fry an Oreo, and the inside of it sort of melts, and it's just got that delicious pancake batter on the outside, dusted with sugar. It's one of the tastier things you'll ever have. It's such like decadence, and they deep frying a candy bar. It's a hat on a hat in a lot of ways, but it's still really good.
Yeah, something I make when I have a party is I'll make chocolate covered bacon.
Ooh.
And that is some goodness you never had. Just take like some of that thick bacon, cook it on like a bacon press, leave about an inch or two where you can hang on to it, and just dip it in like bacon chocolate and dry it out on some wax paper, a little bit of salt on it. Man, it is like sweet and savory and chocolatey. I had some one time, and I had this old biker buddy of mine. He's real serious, kind of gruff guy, and he was pretty skeptical. He was like, "Man, that's wrong, man. You shouldn't have done that. Ruined some good bacon." I was like, "Try a bite, then tell me." He's like, "I ain't even putting it in my mouth. It's wrong." So he finally he concedes, and he takes a bite, and he kind of thinks about it for a second. He's like, "This is fucked up to be this good." Yes. And then ever since then, he's like, "Hey, can you come over and bring some of that bacon?" He's been an addict ever since, man. Chocolate covered bacon's the way to go.
I bet maple would be good too. I always talk about it, but the first time I did acid, the only time I did acid, we got these maple bacon donuts. And so that sort of just melted into my brain forever as the most delicious thing that I've ever tasted. Just maple and bacon was so fucking good.
That would be good. There's one of the food trucks down at Bike Week sells a cheeseburger, but it's got Krispy Kreme donuts instead of buns. And man, it's same thing. It's probably 30,000 calories, but it tastes so good. Maybe not.
Are we the only country that does that? Because whenever I see that kind of shit on the Food Network,
it's only here.
Yeah, I've really never seen. I mean, I've seen some weird stuff in markets and stuff, but nobody really gets off on like bastardizing food like we do. Like just taking things that should not go together. Most countries are pretty traditional. Like they don't have a lot of preservatives in their food. Like if you go to like even in England, like if you go to a grocery store in England and get some produce or some bread, like you better eat that shit in like 72 hours because it's going to turn green on you. Like our stuff lasts forever. But like most countries, yeah, they don't do the preservatives. They don't get those kind of goopy things. And also, like most countries don't deal with the intensity of flavor that we do. Now, like hot countries, like hot cultures tend to have a lot of spicy food because it induces sweating. Kind of, you can literally cool off eating some hot peppers somewhere. And you look at a lot of the cuisines around the equator, they tend to be spicy like that. But like most places, though, they don't. Their food is not as salty. It's not as sweet. Even if you get the same label, like when I moved to England the last time for the show, I found some of that like that Lipton peach tea I like so much at the convenience store, and I got a bottle, but it was like half of the sweetness and peach that we get here.
Dude,
like
it's so funny you mentioned the preservatives, because usually we just eat all the food in the house and it gets gone. It usually doesn't go rotten on the shelf or anything. I think like it's kind of poor planning or you left it out or something. So I really don't know when bread goes bad because I usually eat it before it goes bad, right? I go through the bread. I was going to make hamburgers maybe 2-3 months ago. I made one hamburger. The rest of the buns have been sitting on that fucking counter for, like I said, like 90, 100 days or something. And I've been looking at them every day. And I'm like, turn the bag over, no mold. I got one out last night. I like smelled it. I like looked all over it. I took a bite. It's as fresh as it was 100 fucking days ago when I opened it. Yeah. Tortillas are even more ridiculous. I threw tortillas away when I moved a couple months ago because I just couldn't fathom that they could still be good, but they were. They had been opened in my pantry for 8 months. Not an exaggeration. 8 months. They had been in there. Open them up, get a tortilla out one night, slice it up, make some fucking chips or whatever I do with it. 8 months it's been in there. I'm like, it can't be good. It can't still be good. Do they never go bad? I don't think tortillas go bad as long as you don't like
Not in America.
As long as you don't like spit on them or something.
But if you went to like Mexico, it'd be like a couple days later and it'd be like
a real flour tortilla.
Rotten. Yeah.
Tortilla. Oh, it'd go bad in like 8 hours.
Yeah. I know like a lot of our preservatives are illegal, like in Europe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's probably why we're all so young and beautiful looking, but yeah, there's some things that we eat that are just not allowed.
You look really good for your age. You said you're almost 50. I would have thought you were like late 30s or something.
Well, I appreciate that. It's all the preservatives I've been eating all these years. Yeah, I'll be 50.
We're preserved, and our ladies have huge tits. You know, I like the hormones and preservatives. It's the best of both worlds. The American way is going to be the global way.
I think so. It definitely makes it last. But
no, go ahead.
I wanted to talk about that alien shit, that like paper mache alien they're like talking about out of Mexico. That shit looks ridiculous. I would have faked an alien 10 times better. 10 times better than that. You think the whole body's going to be there? You think it's going to look like literal paper mache? It still has little fingers. The whole skeleton's there.
So it's what absurd. They were saying. So the idea that they had a mummified body, if we're getting past the idea that aliens are real, wasn't the weird thing to me. And it was like, okay, maybe if they had one for a long time, they said it was like 1,000 years old. Like maybe some ancient people mummified a fucking alien, and here it is. But then they turned the camera a little, and you saw that its face was just so weirdly shaped. It looked like it had been 3D printed. And it's not rounded off yet. It's like a 2-dimensional like JPEG or something. And it
pull a picture of that up, Zach, if you can.
And then they showed the X-ray. And the X-ray is an X-ray that got debunked like years and years ago. It's the same X-ray.
They mirrored the image, Kyle. Totally different.
They mirrored the image, which is a dead giveugay that you're pulling my fucking yank. Look, I want to believe in aliens.
Flew one come down. Mexico.
Do you know who Brian Cox is? Are you familiar with that name?
Oh yeah,
Brian. You remember him?
Physicist.
The actor?
No, he's a physicist. He's been on the Jerry, which is a popular
curly
podcast.
hair. The British guy with curly black hair.
Yes,
maybe it's not super straight, the black hair, but in any case,
he's a cool guy. He's good at explaining stuff.
He's really good at explaining stuff, and he just has this cadence and temperament that clicks with me. And they asked him what he thought of the aliens, and he said the odds that this alien would be humanoid are so infinitesimal. You know, that people are making these props in our own image. But if we were to really discover extraterrestrial life, it wouldn't look just like us.
It would be a cephalopod or some shit, you know? Like that's, I don't know if you've ever seen, I think it might be Arrival. I bet it's not. It's Contact or something. I'm spacing on the name of the movie. It came out a few years ago, and the cephalopod aliens came down in their weird, like half moon-shaped ship, and they try to communicate with them. You know, that's the whole premise of the movie, is the communication, going back and forth with them, trying to find some common ground. They're not going to look like us. They're probably not going to be walking around.
Yeah. There is no fucking way that's an alien.
Yeah.
They might be in a big tank of water or some shit, or they might be like always in like some goo, like a big fucking a snail person. Who fucking knows?
Yeah. What if they're like sea, kind of like a mermaid or something like that? What if they don't even live terrestrially? They've got cities underground. Like, we don't know. But to think that they've got like fingers and a little nose with two nostrils.
See,
like,
no, I disagree with that. I don't think that. Maybe I'm being closed-minded here, but I think you need hands and fingers if you're going to evolve to anything. Look, okay, a tentacle could work, maybe, but I think you need more dexterous tentacles than like our cephalopods have. You need some sort of. There are 72 bones, I think, roughly, in our hands. This thing is really good at what it does do. Like, watch a professional musician play. Like we're so good at this, and this is what lets us do so much of what we do.
The alien in Independence Day, the one Will Smith punched in the head.
Yeah.
It had a very different. It was almost like every finger was an arm, and they all seemed to have the same dexterity that we do. And I'm like, that looks even better.
Perhaps, yeah. But I don't know. It seems weird to me that you'd still be like semi-aquatic and working with electrical stuff. Like maybe they're powered by something else. But
I didn't think of that.
Again, probably just being real close-minded. And it's like, well, their blood's fucking copper-based, not iron-based, dummy. They're silicon life forms. There's so many different things they could be. They could be non-corporeal life forms, right? Something that's not even in a physical body. They're just a floating aura of energy that's sentient, that can communicate somehow.
Oh, we're in big trouble if that's the case.
Are we? Because I got a microwave that's probably basically hell to them.
It's just going to phase right through the fucking...
That's what
I have
a Faraday cage. It's meant...
I will fuck them up with a. They're not.
It's like signs where they're like, we didn't account for the wind. Like, they just blow away instead of signs. That's more understandable than not signing for water. We've got you, Chris. We got you back.
Well, I had some kind of audio thing going on there, but it's sorted now. But yeah, I mean, the alien question is just fascinating because like you said, I mean. I didn't catch all that conversation, but I mean, just mathematically speaking, there's so many planets and worlds out there on the order of trillions that it seems mathematically impossible that we're the only ones there. But per your point with the humanoid type thing, yes, evolutionarily speaking, there could be other versions. Just look at our own animals in our own animal kingdom. But, certainly manipulating technology, things with, traveling, that kind of stuff, a liquid-based culture would not necessarily travel that well, for example, or tentacles don't really manipulate triggers and hand tools and wheels and all the things. These creatures would have presumably evolved the same way that we did, with hand tools and clubs and stone wheels and things like that. So evolutionarily speaking,
I'm trying to think about this and not miss something, but it seems to me that you need to be able to forge metal at some point with heat. And if you live underwater, that's just never going to happen. Like, you're never going to take iron ore that you get out of the bottom and melt it, because it's just a foreign fucking concept. Anything hot enough to boil water,
Oh yeah, or in like you mentioned, silicone-based life forms. I mean, water itself could be extremely poisonous to a lot of different organisms. I mean, when you look at hydrogen is very reactive, oxygen is very reactive. It is a universal solvent in a way. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios where presumably some sort of life form would be very harmed by water, for example, or. And then when you get into like sizes and stuff like that, I mean, obviously we have, whales and elephants and really big animals, but in general, if we've got some sort of a, respiratory based body, breathing, that sort of thing, you're going to have to be a certain size to where either your weight is not a hindrance with the gravity that you have or able to breathe. You've got to have enough lung space to oxygenate or carbonate or whatever the chemical your body needs. So, I mean, there are going to be probably some similarities. You get into that Star Trek, Star Wars model of a bunch of extras wearing suits. They're all about 5'11" with arms, but at the same time, it's a pretty good model. And just based on the toolkit of elements that we have to work with, certain life forms are going to require the same sort of sizes in order to work. You can't be too big. You can't breathe or stand up under your own weight unless your bones are made out of carbon fiber or something like that. And if you don't have the right appendages,
but for sure, like 100% for sure, those paper mache things they wheeled out in Mexico are fake. That's because that I don't. Yeah, silly.
I know that's not.
There's candy in that fucking alien. I guarantee it.
It took all the press, but at the same time, they discovered that a planet probably has life on it, like real recently. I think it's Kepler 22b. I might be fucking that up.
Yeah, it kind of
this thing is rotates or something.
So there's a couple things about it here. It's 15% larger than Earth, so it's right in that, like, if size is important, the gravity is going to be comparable to Earth. All right, boom. Its normal temperature is 6 degrees Celsius. What is that, about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that? That's probably. 40 degrees Fahrenheit is the thing that can sustain life. They say it has water on it, and then there are gases that they've discovered that are like the byproduct of life. I forget if it's methane or something else, but they think there's carbon dioxide, which is a breathing type thing, and they think shit's exhaling on this planet. So maybe
how far away is this one?
Super far. Here, I'll look.
Was it 142 light years? Yeah, in case anyone's wondering how you can look at something and tell what it's made out of, it's what color light is coming back. It's they're able to tell what elements are present with that.
That's in line with what I
radio
saw.
Telescopes.
Yeah, and like traveling some of these distances, and I can't remember who I was watching. It was Brian Cox or Neil deGrasse Tyson or Michio Kaku or some other interesting physicist or astrophysicist. But like they were talking, or maybe it was Veritaserum or Vsauce or something. But anyway, they were talking about like, traveling to these different star systems. And it's not just as simple as like putting a big ass motor on the back of a ship. Like to accelerate a human body up to the speed of light and then slow it back down at a rate where the G-forces did not just turn us into jello would take most of a normal human lifetime just to get up to that speed. Like in order to travel to these kind of distances, it would have to be some sort of wormhole or space-time or warp drive. Type of warp drive or some sort of like, cryo freeze where we wake up 2,000 years later. Like just the physics alone of accelerating our body.
That's what we need, man.
Find some solution. Yeah, exactly.
But we want that cryo freeze
solution to overcome like mass essentially, because the mass of our own body would be its hindrance as we accelerated and decelerated. So it's fascinating just to look at the numbers and watch this kind of stuff. And
can you imagine getting there and it's shit. Getting there, and like an asteroid hit it the week before you arrived, and it's on fire. The whole
also like they don't like the light has taken so long to get here. Couldn't you like get on the way there, and then the light finally arrives, showing that it was destroyed, and it's like no,
it could not be there.
So 1,000 years ago it blew up, and we started our whole project, and now we're way too far in the midst of it. Like, I just woke up out of cryo sleep and it's not there.
That's fascinating to me. So this particular planet, I looked it up, is 587 light years away. So
never mind.
I mean, kind of far, but not like it's the stuff where that's 22 million light years away. It's interesting.
That's another galaxy.
You're looking into the past, right? That light, there could be stars out there where we're waiting for the first light to hit us. Mm-hmm. There could be stars out there shining at us that actually have been dead for 15 million years. And they'll keep shining at us for 7 more million years.
Most of the stars we see at night aren't still there. Like that, I had a girl one time try to sell me on the whole astrology thing. And and not that I'm not willing to believe in, magic or some force that means that I'm born in September, so therefore I don't get along with people born in January or do good in business. But like, it's like, just tell me it's magic. I'll believe that rather than you telling me that some ball of light out in the space that's not even there anymore, based on the positions it was relative to the moon the day I was born, is somehow going to determine whether I'm an asshole or not. Like, I'd rather believe the magic of it than you tell me.
Why would our relative
science.
position to those stars have any basis on what on them telling you anything? Are you telling me that astrology is completely different if you live on a different fucking planet? They got a whole different astrology system there because their stars.
They have to.
They'd
the see different stars.
God,
Kyle, this is in wild conflict with your circumcision views.
Snip it, boys. All right.
See, here's the thing. If Christopher, say that Kyle says circumcision is the right move because if there are any girls who are turned off then you should have it because it opens doors for you. In my mind, Kyle should get into horoscopes because these chicks are into it, and if it gets your wet, if it gets your stick wet, you should line up with these views. Drop your principles, Kyle. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, that's just
think there's more pussy in going into horoscopery or whatever that shit is called. Whatever I'm into now. I just really find that to be so like. Come on, you look stupid if you're into astrology. Like if you think that,
dude, so many girls love that shit.
Yeah, it's right. Okay. It's okay to be into fantasy. Like I love all sorts of fantasy worlds.
But you guys should become horoscope fucking whores.
I'll do that. I'll be like, oh, I was unbelievably rude because I'm a Taurus. I forgot to text you back because I'm a Taurus.
What is your
I can't pay for dinner. I'm a Taurus. That means I'm bullheaded. I don't know.
Yeah, I always just tell them that Virgos don't believe in astrology.